Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin.
Sunny Hostin is no stranger to stirring up the hot topics table on The View, but this time, the shakeup hit closer to home. Knowing your ancestors is all fun and cool until the truth smacks you in the face, and you are too scared to own up to it.
Purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study.
A deep dive into her family history on PBS's Finding Your Roots pulled the rug from under her, leaving her with a revelation that flipped her understanding of her own ancestry.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting.
Sunny Hostin has always stood strong against American racism, but it turns out her own grandparents were slave owners. The truth did not go down well, and the irony was too loud to ignore. In one of the episodes of the Henry Louis Gates Jr. hosted series, hits Sunny Hostin with a truth she never saw coming. A deep dive into the 55-year-old's genealogy revealed a heavy dose of Spanish ancestry in her bloodline. But the real shocker came when Gates Jr. dropped the shocker that her fourth great-grandfather was a merchant in 1800s Spain, likely tied to the slave trade, and had even owned at least one human being. Sunny Hostin and Greg Gutfeld stand on opposite ends of the battlefield when it comes to political discourse and personal identity. Hostin was hit with a hard truth. Her maternal ancestors were involved in slaveholding. Staying true to her progressive stance, she doubled down on her support for reparations and racial justice. But critics were not buying it. To them, her reaction felt rehearsed, a carefully crafted attempt to spin an uncomfortable revelation into political leverage.
And I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living.
Gutfeld did not let this slide. He was not just cracking jokes for laughs, he went straight for what he saw as pure hypocrisy. Sunny has always preached about accountability, especially when it comes to historical injustices. But the moment her own family history came into the spotlight, the energy shifted. Instead of facing it head-on, she brushed it off as just another historical fact. But how could Gutfeld let go of this? His takedowns delivered live on his show struck a chord with his audience, who saw it as a much-needed call-out of Hostin's selective outrage.
Logs! She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm an but at least I tip.
Gutfeld was not about to let that contradiction go unnoticed. He nailed how identity-based debates get messy when personal history does not fit the script. It is easy to call out others, but what happens when the same standards land on your doorstep? Sunny had spent years demanding accountability from others for their lineage, but when the mirror turned on her, the tone suddenly changed.
Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
Gutfeld's response was sharp, calculated, and impossible to ignore. More than just exposing the contradiction, he made it clear. If you are going to talk about race and history, you better be ready to apply the same standards to yourself.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Rightly. So if she has been calling out the descendants of slave owners, will she keep that same energy now that she is one of them? Gutfeld did not sugarcoat it. If ancestry is the standard for judgment, then that standard should apply to everyone, including Sunny.
Okay, good.
Very brave to say that on this panel. Karma, definitely. I mean, it's one thing. It's going to be so awkward on new episodes of The View when she tries to pull the race card.
Yes.
And then she's like, America is racist. And then they're like, yeah, they might be racist, but they're not like slave owner racist.
And this is where the irony slapped hard. The very system she had fiercely criticized now had her tangled in its web.
Oh, I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. Yeah. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna go, slave owner!
For Gutfeld, this was bigger than just Sonny. It was about the way performative outrage often drowns out personal accountability. And once the internet caught wind of the drama, the reaction was brutal. Social media exploded with memes, jokes, and hot takes flying at rapid speed.
Well, now we understand why she always makes Whoopi get the coffee.
Gutfeld's words hit home for those fed up with selective outrage and moral debates. It was a prime example of what happens when self-righteousness runs headfirst into an uncomfortable truth. In his eyes, Sonny's credibility took a major hit.
DNA about it, but I'm more worried for Sonny Hostin's progeny in the future that do a DNA test and find out that they were related to a cast member of The View.
Hostin, who I think is truly the nastiest woman on television and a genuine racist and not that bright, despite her law degree and everything else.
Sonny Hostin, co-host of The View, has been a polarizing figure, often drawing criticism for her remarks and actions both on and off the show. When news broke about her ancestry, those already critical of her wasted no time in tearing into her. Not a single voice stepped up to soften the blows. Her past remarks had set the stage, and now the backlash came swift and unforgiving.
But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
This is not the first time Gutfeld and Sonny Hostin have gone head-to-head. Gutfeld has always been a vocal critic of The View. To him and many others, the show feels like a non-stop parade of performative outrage.
These elites are so isolated, they've forgotten that most Americans don't get paid to sit in a comfy chair pontificating about everything all day. Nope, some of us are cameramen whose names I don't know.
Pushing narratives that leave every sane man shaking his head in disbelief.
That is true, you don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame.
The song was aimed straight at Sonny Hostin, and Gutfeld did not hold back. Every lyric hit like a direct shot, leaving no room for excuses or backpedaling.
If you want a show where people know the host is stupider than you, then set your DVR to watch Sonny Hostin on The View.
Hostin's mouth has also landed her in trouble more than once. After the 2024 election, she blamed Trump's win on cultural resentment, singling out non-college educated white women, a take that had her co-hosts firing back, calling it condescending. And when she suggested Latino voters who didn't back Kamala Harris were just being sexist, the backlash hit fast. Whether it's politics or personal scandals, Hostin has a way of keeping herself in the hot seat.
Well, I want to dig further into the demographics because black women tried to save this country. Again, last night, 92% of black women voted for the vice president. You have Latinas in the 70 percentile voting for the vice president. What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump, uneducated white women.
The Ancestor Reveal Act has hit Sonny Hostin hard, something she never saw coming. But has it changed her views or is she just ignoring it? Either way, the internet isn't letting this one slide.